need to understand.
Danger.
From the bottom of my heart, I wanted to say thank you.
That is a wrap on season 2 of The Witcher. It is hard to believe it's been over a year since we kicked off this season in typical Witcher fashion, in a freezing cold forest in the middle of the night. Since then, we've shot for 158 days, with at least one unit, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, all while decked out in face shields and face masks and goggles and slathered in hand sanitizer. We shot in 15 locations with 89 cast members and over 1,200 different crew members, all bringing their craft to life. None of us has ever experienced a television season like this before, I'm sure. We cannot wait to show you what Geralt and Ciri and Yennefer and Jaskier and all of your favorites have been up to since we left them at the Battle of Sodden Hill. There are plenty of new characters and storylines, and of course monsters to explore as well, as we dig into the Blood of Elves and beyond. We are so proud of everything we accomplished in season 2, and we can't wait for you to watch it.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my brand new Witcher Season 2 teaser trailer. Netflix just dropped some brand new footage. They crammed a whole bunch of Easter eggs in here, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. If you didn't know, the good news is the Witcher Season 2 episodes will premiere this year, before the end of the year. Probably not till December, but we're still getting it this year. Of course, I'll be doing videos for all the episodes. There's also a special convention that they're doing just for The Witcher. Netflix is putting on a convention that'll involve both Witcher video game stuff from CD Projekt Red and Witcher Netflix TV series stuff on July 9th. That's why they have both versions of Geralt here, the Henry Cavill version and the video game version. I don't know if they have any plans to announce any Witcher video game stuff. There's been so much talk and theories about them doing the Witcher 4 video game sequel ever since the Witcher 3 came out. The studio has made it sound like they're not planning on doing that for a long time, but eventually they'll get around to making a big AAA Witcher game. But the best theory is that the next video game, the next big one, would follow Ciri just because of the way they end Geralt's story during The Witcher 3. The Witcher Netflix series is really only following the books, with a few borrowed things from the games. The game's story actually picks up after the end of the last book. But there is some stuff that you'll see in the TV series, especially during Season 2, like the Wild Hunt. They are doing the Wild Hunt during Season 2 that'll seem familiar to the video games, but the way they're doing the Wild Hunt, I'll explain, it's a little bit different. It's not quite what you expect. But the way they cut this teaser trailer, they just quick cut through a whole bunch of different shots. They just cram a ton of Easter eggs into this. If you didn't know though, Season 2 will adapt Blood of Elves, the next book in the series. The title is a reference to Ciri and her elder blood. She literally has the blood of elves in her, and that's where the elder blood comes from. So just starting at the beginning of the footage here, I'll just go through shot by shot. As you can probably tell based on where Geralt and Ciri were heading at the end of The Witcher Season 1, Geralt was getting ready to take her back to Kaer Morhen because it would be easier to keep her safe there because it's a fortified keep, but also because it's a place of learning, a home of the Witcher School of the Wolf, where he himself was raised and trained to become a Witcher. There were a couple flashbacks during Season 1 where you kind of see his beginnings there, where you see his mother eventually take him and leave him there at the School of the Wolf. But the keep itself is a center of knowledge. It's meant to be a school, like it's literally called the School of the Wolf. But eventually Geralt starts to figure out what's happening with her based on what he learns in Cintra during the fall of Cintra, and because he witnessed what happened with her mother Pavetta and her father Duny. They actually do have some Easter eggs for them, Duny and Pavetta, during this teaser trailer as well. You probably recognize the way they cut some of the footage. The Elder Blood itself makes her the most powerful character on the show though, more powerful than Eredin in the Wild Hunt that you see in all the video games. And everyone in the world of The Witcher, every major faction, both good and evil, all want to use her power for themselves, use her either as a tool or just straight up kill her and literally take her power, like Eredin in the Wild Hunt. So that's the big reason for taking her back to Kaer Morhen. She just has no idea how to use her abilities right now, so she's incredibly vulnerable, and all that power doesn't matter if you don't know how to use it. But you do actually see her use it during Season 1 instinctively to protect herself at the end of the season. She winds up exploding all those men like a bunch of wet balloons. as you probably know, there aren't any more new Witchers being created, not because they don't want to, but because they no longer have the means or knowledge to create the special potions that give the people the Witcher mutations, the actual Trial of the Grasses. There was a big massacre there that they'll probably cover in either some of the tie-in material or some of the spin-off series that they're doing. There's so many Witcher spin-off series that they're doing. They're doing a Witcher movie called The Nightmare of the Wolf about young Vesemir. They're doing The Witcher Blood Origin, which is a prequel series about the first Witcher 1,000 years ago. Ciri is trained as a Witcher by Geralt Vesemir, who we'll meet during Season 2 with the help of Triss, Lambert, Eskel, also going to be Season 2 characters. So she kind of becomes a Witcher of sorts, but she can't undergo the mutations, so technically she's not a real Witcher, but she does act in the capacity of a Witcher during the events of the games later in her life. The whole idea with this version of Ciri during Season 2, though, obviously much younger. She's still a teenager at this point in her life. So that's why most of this new Witcher Season 2 teaser trailer focuses on foreshadowing her, learning more about herself, more about her Elder Blood powers, more about the Witchers in general, the School of the Wolf, and her actual training in Witcher lore and fighting techniques. This is basically meant to be a Ciri trailer, even though Geralt does appear in it. You might have wondered why you don't see Henry Cavill's face appear during a lot of this quick cut footage. You actually do see him in this, it's just that he's barely standing in frame. Geralt's main mission, though, his whole purpose for existing at the moment, in addition to just generally being a Witcher, is to protect her. So part of that is helping teach her to fight so that she can defend herself, like actual practical fight training with a sword. Geralt himself isn't an expert in the lore of Elder Blood. Now, he practices a little bit of magic. Witchers use special signs, basic magic spells to enhance some of their attacks or protect them based on whatever it is they need to do. It's a much simpler form of magic than what you see practiced by actual mages like Yennefer, much more powerful magics, or the magic that Ciri is capable of. The big advantage that Ciri has is that not only does she learn how to use a lot of the basic skills and abilities that Witchers have, but because of her Elder Blood, she's also a source, which is what you call someone who has magical affinity in the world of the Witcher. When a really powerful source, like Yennefer for instance, is discovered, usually they wind up going to the School of Mages and train as a traditional mage, but Ciri for instance is mostly trained as a Witcher. But the Elder Blood gives Ciri even more magical power than all the other traditional mages on the show or in the books. It's just that she would actually have to learn how to cast all that magic. She could do some of it instinctively, but she could become way more powerful if she actually read a lot of these magic books and learned these spells. Vesemir, who's being played by Kim Bodnia from Killing Eve, this actor here, you might recognize him. He stays back at the School of the Wolf, mostly because he's just gotten so old that he's long since transitioned to more of a professorial role, more of a teacher. But because they're not taking new students during present day, there's nobody for him to teach, so most of his time is just spent trying to fix the keep, which is slowly falling apart over the centuries. They really didn't get into the history of the Witchers that much during Season 1 or even the history of Kaer Morhen. But I think that's just because they're saving it for Season 2 when we actually go there. Like, here's this ancient place that's also very important, and they'll just teach the audience about it, they'll teach us about it as Ciri learns about it, because she's becoming a much bigger point of view character during Season 2. Way bigger than she was during Season 1. Yes, the show is called The Witcher, and that's mostly a reference to Geralt, but really if you read the books, you realize that Ciri is actually the most important character, at least the way the narrative treats her. So a lot of these images in the trailer are just meant to be general day-to-day of her learning things slowly and training. Like the first one here is of her in the woods on the way to the keep with Geralt. The next one seems like her starting to learn more about the making of Witcher potions. Like even though you saw Geralt using potions a little during Season 1, Geralt has to make all those potions himself. So as a Witcher, when you're training to be a Witcher, you have to be well versed in potion lore. This image of the desk with the tools is just more of that inside the keep, more studying in the practical arts and knowledge necessary to become a Witcher. This image with the hand in the robes, the rings, the ornate necklace might either be Triss at the School of the Wolf, or it could be from Yennefer's storyline. Remember, at the beginning of Season 2, Yennefer has been captured by Nilfgaard as of the end of Season 1, that big battle, so she's forced to serve Emperor Emhyr, the Nilfgaardians, and work amongst the other mages that are serving him. But eventually, Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri will be reunited. It just won't happen at the beginning of Season 2. Ysgir is also back during Season 2, but he's not with Geralt or Ciri at the beginning of the season either. This is just Ciri inside the armory of the keep. You could probably see the engravings on the Witcher swords here. Ciri eventually does get a Witcher sword given to her by Geralt after she finishes her training. It's called Ziriel, which also means swallow. The reason why they call the sword that is because it's Ciri's true name in the Elder speech. Her name is Ziriel. So her standing amidst all these Witcher swords with these engravings is meant to foreshadow that. When she says in the trailer that she needs to understand, and the images flash of that red cloak on the ground, the human heart, and then the two figures dancing, that's just a reference to her understanding her heritage, the line of her family that passed down the elder blood. The relationship of her parents, Dooney and Pavetta, they kind of just tease that during season 1, but that's who these two dancing figures are meant to be, Dooney and Pavetta. This is more of her just running around the keep at night in the snow, having a little bit of fun. This image of the man fighting the monster seems like it's just a painting inside the keep depicting ancient witchers fighting monsters. Here she's still standing on the road on the way to the keep, and the voice that speaks danger might be Eskel, Lambert, or one of the other witchers. This is just one of the ancient daggers that they have inside the keep. This is Geralt and Ciri again, still on the road to Kaer Morhen. You can see Geralt kind of standing halfway in frame. Then you see Ciri walking around the ruins of the keep. Some parts of it have fallen into extreme disrepair, but the voices crying out in the background, yelling, seem like it's more of Ciri or Geralt dreaming or having visions about the White Frost and the Wild Hunt, just more foreshadowing for the really big story later on. The White Frost is probably one of the biggest cataclysmic events that they talk about. It's the whole reason why the Elder Blood exists in the first place, that Ciri possesses. The original elves that lived on the main world of The Witcher here, where Geralt and Ciri lived thousands of years ago, learned about this potential coming of the White Frost. It's meant to be this ice age, this big cataclysmic event that will wipe out all life on the planet. So this ancient group of elves sought to create a being of their race with enough magical power to stop it, using a very selective breeding process and genetic programs. Eventually, they wind up traveling to another world, and that's where Eredin, the leader of the Wild Hunt, comes from. He comes from this ancient order of elves that created the Elder Blood. So there are a couple important reasons why the Wild Hunt travel around the multiverse to different worlds. If you didn't know, obviously The Witcher seems like a fantasy story, but really it's more of a science fiction story because there's a multiverse, people travel between worlds all the time. The Wild Hunt is just one of those groups that's able to travel between worlds of the multiverse. So we'll see how they treat them this early in the story, and it'll probably just be visions and dreams that people get like Ciri gets. They are referenced in some of the book stuff that they're doing right now on the show, but you don't actually see them like legit come into the story till much later on. There's a whole bunch more footage here of Ciri just getting her ass kicked all over the place during her training, running around in the woods nearby, exploring the darker places inside the keep, just being really curious around the School of the Wolf. They also said that they fixed the Nilfgaardian armor that everyone hated so much during Season 1, the big ballsack armor. But the only other big character that we know about that they're doing during Season 2 that you don't really see during any of this teaser trailer footage is Rience from the books. He's one of the main antagonists during Blood of Elves, the book that they're doing for Season 2, but he's really only an underling serving a bigger villain, who you've actually already met on the show during Season 1. But what'll probably happen is at that Witcher convention that Netflix is doing in July, we'll probably get a bigger teaser trailer, so I'll do a new Easter eggs video for that. While you wait for everything, click here for my full Marvel Loki Episode 1 video, and click here for my Loki Episode 2 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.